Welcome back to the USA Cabinet Store Remodeling Podcast, the show where we take one kitchen decision and go all the way down to the bottom of it. I am Chris, and today we are talking about the single most stalled out decision in any kitchen remodel. You picked dark cabinets. You picked light countertops. And now you are standing in a tile shop with no idea what goes between them. With me is Jessica. Jessica, why is this the one that stops people?
Because it is the last decision and the smallest budget line, so people assume it should be the easiest. It is not. The cabinets and the counters are already locked in by the time you get here, so the Backsplash has to solve for both of them at once. And here is the thing that surprises people. The Backsplash is the cheapest of your three surfaces to change, and it does the most work of the three. That mismatch is exactly why it stalls.
Give me the one-sentence rule. If somebody stops listening after 30 seconds, what do they need?
With dark cabinets, go lighter. That is it. Black, charcoal, espresso, dark walnut, dark cherry, and the saturated darks like navy and deep forest green all absorb a big share of the light that hits them. A pale Backsplash gives that light back. If you have one window in that kitchen, that is the difference between a room that feels rich and a room that feels closed in.
There's a story in the research for this episode that I keep thinking about. Somebody on a remodeling forum said her kitchen felt dark, and she blamed the cabinet color. She priced out replacing the cabinets at around $3,000. Instead, she spent about $400 on a stone backsplash and installed it herself.
And she got a different room for 1/8 of the cost. That is the whole argument in one example. Before you spend thousands changing the thing that is hardest to change, spend hundreds on the thing that is easiest. Most of the time, the Backsplash was the actual problem.
Okay, so where does somebody actually start? Not the tile aisle, I assume.
No. Start with the countertop, and this is the step almost everybody skips. The counter is the expensive surface, it is the visually dominant one, and it is the hardest to change later. So it should be chosen first, and its undertones should drive the tile rather than the other way around. Then, once the counter is settled, you make one decision that eliminates most of your options. You decide which surface is the focal point.
Meaning you cannot have two.
You cannot have two. If your countertop has strong veining and movement, your Backsplash needs to be quiet. Something close to solid with texture instead of pattern. Put a dramatic marble look quartz next to a busy geometric tile, and they fight. And your eye has nowhere to rest. Flip it around. If your counter is a plain white quartz, now you can carry a stronger tile, an unusual layout, or an actual color, because nothing is competing.
And on matching, people always try to match the color exactly.
Which is the mistake. Match the undertone, not the color. An exact match looks forced. Warm white or cream or gold veining in the counter points you toward ivory, cream, warm greige, handmade tile. Cool white or gray or blue veining points you to crisp white, pale gray, blue gray. Brown or taupe or rust points to warm stone and earthy ceramic. And look at the sample in the actual room during the day and again at night with the under cabinet lights on. Dark kitchens change character after sunset more than light ones do.
Let us get into the actual options. Where does most of the market land?
Warm white subway tile, and safe is not an insult here. Houzz surveyed 1,780 U.S. homeowners for its 2026 kitchen study. 85% of renovators upgraded their Backsplash. White was the leading color at 31% and off-white right behind at 26%. So most of the market is choosing some version of this. To keep it from looking generic, change one variable. Handmade tile with irregular edges or a crackled glaze, or lay it vertically or in herringbone instead of the standard offset. Then use tonal grout.
What about true black cabinets? That is the hardest contrast there is.
For black, I would look at glossy or pearlescent white. Gloss amplifies everything a pale Backsplash is already doing, and an iridescent finish adds movement without becoming a pattern. It is a strong option for small kitchens and kitchens with one window. Glass mosaic does a similar job with more texture, though also more grout to clean. And if black and white feels too stark once it is up at full scale, A mid-tone gray tile sits right between the two and softens the jump without muddying either one.
Now the one everybody wants and nobody prices first. Slab.
Running the countertop material up the wall. No grout lines, one continuous surface, easiest thing in the kitchen to clean behind a range. Houzz put Slab at 28% of 2026 renovations, so it is not unusual anymore. But there is a homeowner in a kitchen remodeling community who had quartz counters quoted at about $4,000, then found that adding an 18-inch slab backsplash pushed the total to roughly $9,000.
Wait, the backsplash cost more than the countertop it is cut from?
It did, and that reaction is exactly what everyone has. The answer is fabrication and waste. A backsplash needs its own slab cuts, its own edge work, its own template, and the yield off a slab is poor once you account for outlets and vein matching. So the compromise most people land on is slab behind the range only, with a quiet, coordinating tile everywhere else. You keep the seamless look on the wall people actually look at.
And if even that is out of reach?
Large format porcelain. It gives you most of the slab effect for a fraction of the price. Fewer grout lines, marble look patterning, far less maintenance than natural stone. But I want to be honest about where it falls short, because nobody says this. In a long, uninterrupted run, it reads beautifully. In a small galley kitchen, the panel seams sit closer together and become more noticeable than tile grout would have been. So measure your wall before you commit to it.
Let us talk grout because I think that is where the regret lives.
It is. Grout changes the finished look almost as much as the tile does. Tonal grout, meaning grout close to the tile color, makes the backsplash read as one surface. The tile shape softens and the whole wall looks more expensive than it cost. In a dark cabinet kitchen, that is almost always the right call, because you already have plenty of contrast from the cabinets. Contrasting grout turns the backsplash into a grid and makes the tile shape the feature, which suits industrial and traditional kitchens, but is far less forgiving of an imperfect install. And there is a maintenance point nobody raises at the selection stage. A really common complaint from people a year or two in is hating how much grout a small format subway backsplash has to clean. Grease and steam settle into the joints, and a wall of 3x6 tile has a lot of joints.
How high should it go? Because the 4-inch strip seems dead.
Fading fast. In the 2025 Houzz study, 67% of renovators ran the backsplash from the counter up to the cabinets or the range hood, and another 12% took it all the way to the ceiling. Full height behind the range is the highest impact version and the easiest to justify, because that is the wall that gets splattered, and it is the wall people look at. But the detail that ruins otherwise good backsplashes is how it ends on an open wall. A backsplash that just stops mid-wall looks unfinished. End it at a natural break, an outside corner, the edge of a cabinet run, and finish that edge with a metal trim profile or a bullnose tile.
Give me the money. What are we actually spending?
Rough national installed ranges for 2026, material plus labor. Basic ceramic subway runs about $10 to $25 a square foot. Large format porcelain, $15 to $40. Glass mosaic, $25 to $50. Marble tile, $25 to $60. Zellige, $30 to $70, and quartz or quartzite slab, $80 to $150. Painting existing tile is under $5 a square foot, but that is a materials-only do-it-yourself number. And the variable everybody underestimates is labor. Shape tile, herringbone layouts, and mosaics all cost more to install than a straightforward rectangular tile covering the same wall, sometimes double.
All right, the mistakes. What goes wrong?
5 things. 1. Letting the room go dark. Dark cabinets plus a dark backsplash plus limited natural light gives you a kitchen that photographs beautifully and is unpleasant to cook in. Under cabinet lighting matters more here than anywhere. 2. 2 focal points, which we covered. 3. Getting the undertone wrong. A cool white tile next to warm espresso cabinets reads as a mistake even when nobody can say why. 4. High contrast grout you did not plan for, and knowing that light grout behind a range is more likely to show grease over time. 5. A backsplash that stops nowhere. Plan the termination point and the edge trim before the tile is ordered, not on install day.
Key takeaways before we wrap.
Go lighter than your cabinets. Pick the countertop first and let its undertone drive the tile. Choose one focal point. Use tonal grout unless you have a specific reason not to. Run it full height behind the range, and sample it in your own kitchen, in daylight and at night. If you get those 6 right, it is very hard to go wrong.
And the one piece of advice you would give somebody with a fixed budget?
Save on the tile. Do not save on the boxes. The backsplash is the cheapest surface to change, and a good tile in the right color costs a fraction of a slab. But particle board cabinet boxes behind a beautiful backsplash is a regret we hear constantly from people who bought online to save money. And unlike a tile choice, it takes a full replacement to fix. Plywood boxes cost more upfront and they outlast them. Spend carefully on the wall. Buy the boxes once.